Hey, everybody, it's Thursday night. Time for a drink. Time for a drink and to talk about books. I think we're a few minutes early. Every clock in my house is telling a different time because we got Google and it's the Hey Google thing. And so it keeps resetting. Anyway, that's we're either always late or always early. And I think we might be a few minutes early here tonight. But tonight's a really exciting night. So a few years ago, my guest author Suleikha Snyder wrote a novella called Tika Chance on Me. Tika Chance on Me, and it was like getting a little sip of something great, and it burned through all my friends, and everybody was talking about it, and so I felt like deeply invested in whatever she was going to write next because I loved this novella so much. And well, the next thing she was going to write was this big, wild paranormal romance that has like urban fantasy elements and conflict ripped from the headlines and is sexy as sexy can get, and shifters, and it's just so exciting. So it's a really exciting book to talk about. It's a really and I'm very excited for her. So I'm going to read you the back cover copy because my mom always likes that. And I do urge you, if you have questions, ask them. Type them in the comment section, and I should be able to read them. So here is the back cover copy of, Big Bad Wolf. They call him a monster, more wolf than man, more dangerous than any predator. They have no idea. Joe Peluso has blood on his hands. He took out the monsters responsible for killing his foster brother, and that one act of vigilante justice has earned him countless enemies in New York's supernatural-controlled underworld. He knows that shifters like him deserve the worst: darkness, pain, solitude, but meeting Neha makes him feel human for the first time in forever. Lawyer and psychologist Neha Aluhueha I'm so sorry, knows Joe is guilty, but she's determined to help him craft a solid defense, even if she can't defend her own obsession. Just one look from the wolf shifter makes her skin burn hot and her pulse race. When a payback hit goes wrong, Neha's forced to make a choice: help Joe escape or leave him to his fate. Before long, they're on the run from the monsters who want him dead, from their own traitorous hearts, and from an attraction that threatens to destroy them. I mean, if that doesn't make you want to read it, I don't know what's wrong with you. Here's the author, Suleikha Snyder.
Hello.
I even asked for help with that last name and I blew it. I'm so sorry.
Well, it's okay because I get to correct you on the first name too. It's Neha.
Neha.
Neha Aluwalia.
My Midwestern whiteness does not really shines through when I try to pronounce names.
It's okay. I should put pronunciation guides in my books.
Well, I'm so excited to have you here to talk about the book. You can't talk about any aspect of this book without talking about the world building of it, because, and I'm not a paranormal urban fantasy, like I don't know, but it felt bigger than a paranormal. It felt dirtier and grittier. And I mean, you were building this underworld, you were building this shifter world, you were building so many worlds. So can you tell me about tell us how you built that and why you made it so hard on yourself?
I'm still asking myself that, like, why did I do this to myself? Because every time I talk about it, I call it like a really ambitious series, because it is, and I don't know that I'm actually going to meet my own expectations for what I'm doing. In my head, I was basically writing a paranormal soap opera. I watch so much serial drama, both primetime and daytime, that have all these interlocking plots and like ensemble casts and supporting characters. So that's what I was doing, right? I mean, I grew up on General Hospital and Days of Our Lives, and, then Buffy and Angel hit when I was in college, like that dark sort of noir, angsty stuff. I mean, I wanted to incorporate that, and of course all the urban fantasy I read as well, and just kind of try to do it on the page. And I don't know. I think I kind of just
you did it. Let me rest assure you that you did it. Like you, and it's funny because I didn't make the soap opera connection, but it does have that like, it does kind of have that, is it secular feel, like that really intensely everybody kind of is aware and knows and is the tensions are on top of each other like that.
Yeah, it's really like just the emotions are all very heightened. It's very melodramatic, and that's from comic books too. Like there's a lot of different influences. I pulled in pretty much everything that inspires me, from soaps to Bollywood to comic books, and kind of threw them in this blender to make this story. A lot of those different elements are there because those are all genres and mediums that I love. And originally these characters actually started out all human. My first,
really?
yeah, my
Oh,
first.
that's fascinating. So okay, tell me more.
Originally, it was just going to be, actually, I was writing the second book first. So originally it was about this this guy and his mercenary group, his government mercenary group, the Third Shift group. And he meets, seducing an arms dealer's girlfriend for a plot. And then I just couldn't, I don't know, I just had to put it aside. It wasn't working. And I started working on what's now Big Bad Wolf. And, he was human. He was a human vigilante because I had just gotten off, watching The Punisher and was obsessed with it. So I wanted to write a romance novel with an angsty vigilante with a heart of gold. And my agent and I actually did shop it. Shocker, it got turned down by everybody.
And everybody was like, you know what this needs? This needs a wolf.
I mean, the funny thing is that, like, they were all kind of like, the hero kills people. We can't do that. And I'm like, the cynical part of me was like, well, if he was a mobster, that would have been fine, right? Because y'all love those mafia romances.
Sure do.
No judgment. No judgment. We all like, but I did think it was ironic that like mafia wrote, that a vigilante was a bridge too far. And then I made him, I was like, one last ditch effort before I put this project away, and just put it back on, in my hard drive forever, is what if I tried to turn him into a werewolf? And
like, I mean, it's like the most authorly thing I've ever heard.
And also, like, yeah, because no one else would understand that, right? Like, you can't really say that to like your doctor friend or your professor friend, like. And then I decided to turn him into a werewolf, and they'll just look at you like, what?
Well, I mean, because then this shifter world that you're also building, where shifters are part of society. Cities have been made sanctuary cities where shifters are safe, and because they're pretty persecuted outside of these sanctuary cities. That world became really rich. So you wrote a novel, you made it paranormal. So you had to have like written practically another novel on top of that.
Yeah. I mean, and so again, like, why do I do these things to myself?
We're writers. I mean,
yeah, because as the story started to develop, it got more political, right? Like, especially as everything happened in 2016 with the election and everything that was happening with the phrase sanctuary city being thrown around and the Muslim ban, and I just started pouring that into the book. And what if in 2016, it's so funny, a lot of people who are reading it think the darkest day is the day that Supernaturals came out into the public. And no, the darkest day in the book is the election.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when it all changes.
Yeah, when it all changes, when everyone realizes that we're going down a path that not everyone. I mean, the people benefiting don't realize. Right. The people not benefiting, yeah.
I thought about that a lot as I was reading it, is that this must have been a very hard, I mean, because you are clearly pulling from what's going on, and in a way that felt perfectly of the world and felt threatening, and like it raised the stakes. It was very page-turning conflict. It was heartbreaking in a lot of ways, but it must have been really hard to be living in the last 4 years that we've had and then be writing.
Yes.
You know what this book needs is more of the last 4
Right?
years.
Like everyone else, like the rom-com boom was happening. Everyone's writing fluffy, happy, escapist things. And here I am being like, no, I want to wallow in what's happening these 4 years. Like, I just want to torment myself. Between this and book 2, honestly, like book 2 almost just wrecked me trying to get through it with the summer of the pandemic and everything. But
Is the pandemic in the book?
no,
Oh,
the
okay.
pandemic is not in the book. I want to say in book 2, I vaguely reference some, people being, a pandemic, things happening, people getting sick and recovering, but I kind of glossed over
masks.
whatever. I glossed over some stuff because we hop from, these books take place in like 2021, fall 2021. And it assumes that whoever that was a negative influence who won that election in 2016 wins in 2020. So things are even worse.
Yeah, right. You've got to keep this going. Another thing that I was sort of wondering about, and I know, people who are watching who may not know, traditional publishing takes a long time. Like, you probably sold this book 4 years ago.
Did I sell it? Early 2018, I think, is when the deal was finalized. Early 2018.
So you were writing about things that hadn't necessarily happened yet in the world that we're in now, but it felt. And then I went back and I watched the first episode of The Punisher because I didn't watch it the first time, and I was like, that felt awfully like aware of what was going to.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it too has a really strong emphasis on, the negative aspects of law enforcement and what the military can do to you psychologically. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot in the Marvel Punisher series that's on Netflix. A little too violent for Disney Plus, I think. It that talks a lot about PTSD and what war can do to people, and that's an aspect of the Punisher's personality in this particular series that I thought was really handled very well in terms of his trauma. I don't really get into too much of that in my book because I like to ground it in the immediate, like, they're kind of too busy running from bad guys and stopping to bang, every few chapters.
Another thing that I was really thinking about, and I like the term in romance, a slow burn romance, and I know that some people use that like as like negatively, like nothing happens between them for so long. I love a slow burn romance, but the guy is literally in jail and she's his lawyer.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I fudge that,
but for 25% of the book,
yes.
I mean, it is a slow burn. So was that difficult because you needed to set all of that up? Or was that planted? Was that the soap opera lover in you?
Well, yeah, it was the soap opera lover in me because, you have to get to a point where they're on the same page emotionally. Like, sure, they lust for each other. Like, he's been in jail and he's, he hasn't seen anyone attractive in a while, so it doesn't take much for him. But to get her on the same page with him, they have to talk a little. Mm-hmm. They have to get to know each other. And also for myself too, he is still a criminal. Like, yes, he killed some bad guys, but he killed people. And we need to address that. And he needs to atone. Like, to me, he has to feel an immense amount of guilt, especially when he's out of prison. And I do talk, I think, in parts of it where, because he's white, he survived to go to prison and he gets away with these things and he has privilege that other people don't. Right. And so those are things that I really had to reckon with in writing a jailed vigilante. And I had to kind of do a lot of that legwork before I ever got him out of there. And then have them continue to check in and address it.
Right.
A constant you know, I know probably some people got sick of him, like, you know, angsting about not being good enough for her. But I'm sorry, he killed people. He should be angsting. Like, he should be like, I don't know that I'm good enough for her. Think about what you sit in a corner, Joe Peluso, and think about what you've done.
I don't know how you would have. I mean, she's a PhD.
Yeah.
She works for the law firm that is defending him. You know, yes, they have incredible chemistry. And in fact, I was thinking about one of the things that really works in a slow burn romance, and that I when I was reading it, I was like, Molly, remember this, is that you've got to really polish and shine those moments where they cross over slightly, you know, where things tip over. And so she, at one point, because he is this supernatural being and she is slowly becoming obsessed with him, at one point she leans forward, she's like, did you do this to me? Like, have you done something to me? And like, did you put a spell on me?
I love that conversation.
I did too. And he's like so hurt, like his little moment of like, man. And I just thought, yes, like that little conversation showed us so much and progressed this slow burn. So for any writers out there, like it was a little like masterclass reminder of how a slow burn works, but only if you just keep tipping it forward. So it was figuring out how to navigate that while he is, yes, in prison and yes, in handcuffs and yes, there are guards. Was that, I mean, that had to be hard.
It was, you know, and again, like in early drafts, he was just a lot hornier. Like I was like, you know what? And my editors also were kind of like, you know, you have to tone down the boner a little and and delve into him emotionally. And they were right. Because, you know, you have to build that rapport between them to make it believable that she would go on the run with him. And also there's again the element of soap opera and just like, of course this is going to happen. Of course they're going to fall in love and, you know, while visiting each other and go on the run, because that's what you do in these these situations.
Otherwise, it's not a very exciting paranormal romance.
Right. So you do have to have that suspension of disbelief, you know, that of course this would happen. But within that, you have to create real moments, you know, and that's why I had, you know, that conversation where, you know, she asked if he did something to her and he's all hurt and he says, you know, it's the same thing you're doing to me.
Right.
You know, like I feel the way I feel is exactly how you feel, like this completely surprised by this. Right. And it's, or like a conversation they have later on in the book when they're bonding over the fact that they both grew up in Queens. Like things like that, like little conversations that humanize them. And, you know, I think she says something like, would you have given up your seat on the subway for me? And, you know, you were probably one of those guys who manspread. I think he says something like, I got a seat for you right here, but whatever. You know, he's a guy from Queens.
And he's a wolf.
He's a wolf. Like, come on.
I feel like one of the other worlds that you built so beautifully was her and her relationship with her family, which is, I mean, it was a rich family. It was a rich cultural life. It was, you know, she's got a cousin who's a snake shifter. So like the ties are all there. And one of the scenes that I really, really loved is, so this is after, I think, the conversation that they have where he's like, so upset when she thinks he's put a spell on her. And she calls her mom to be like, Mom, am I a good person? And she can't say, I really, really, really want to have sex with this killer. And does that make me a bad person? But she's just, and I just thought, gosh, it felt almost like, and I don't know how long this book was, but it felt like we were getting, it was like a romance that I used to read, you know, before they all got shorter. And I have no idea how long this book was, but it just felt so rich, I think, because of all this world building. So how did it work for you putting in all of the family stuff? Did you add it in as you went? Did you have to pull some out? Was it a back and forth?
Again, it was like, I usually don't write about parents, like, not a lot. They don't show up on the page a lot because I tend to write, very close, especially with something like Take a Chance on Me. Although her mom does appear in Take a Chance on Me.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed I kept leaving parents out of my stories. and I was like, and in writing this, especially because it is so tight in this world, and these are characters who live in New York City, that means her family is going to be there. And you can't just ignore that she's going to go on the run. Her parents are going to worry. Of course, they're going to worry about her.
Right.
So I had to, in raising that question for myself, I realized I had to pull them into the story and make them somewhat significant to her. And yeah, having that conversation with her mom, it was a way of me to also signal to the reader that she's conflicted about this.
Mm-hmm.
She's just not, she's not just slinging her panties at this dude.
Right.
Okay. Like she's,
it added to the realism of it. Like it really did, I mean, you had to, obviously it's a romance and it's a fantasy and you have to play with that, but it really did. I felt for her.
Yeah.
So how long was it?
The book?
How long is this book?
It's like, what, 350 pages, maybe 300?
How many words is that? I mean, we're going to get real writerly here.
90-ish. Yeah. I want to say the final word count. Okay. It's 303 per wait, no, 303 with the excerpt. I'm sorry. 297. 297. It's not even 300 words.
Put the cover up there real quick because mine was on my Kindle. How excited were you when you got that cover?
Oh my gosh. Yes. So excited.
I mean, because it could have just been a guy with a naked chest and a girl, looking over her shoulder at him or something. And it managed to convey everything that was going on.
Yeah.
And I hope you were excited. Were you excited?
I honestly admit I really initially wanted the guy with the naked chest and the girl on the cover, just because, that is such an obvious signifier for romantic suspense and paranormal romance. And then I came around because when you start looking at the elements of this, it's so great. The slashes, the eyes of the wolf. He doesn't have nipples, and I heard that's because a lot of the big box stores don't like man nipples on their covers.
Nipples have gotten me in a lot of trouble over the years. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of cover love happening in the chats here. Jamie.
Yes, I see that, Megan and Katie. These are all friends of mine from the Clitory Coven Book Club.
Oh, cool!
They're awesome. I love them. Hi. I like man nipples. Who doesn't?
Man nipples really, really cause grief with advertising, and I mean they are trouble. I got my first breathing nipple.
Yes.
We wish we could. We wish we could. We haven't even talked about this drink. So we are drinking hot buttered pineapple juice.
Yes.
I put way too much cinnamon in mine. It's making a mess of the glass. Delicious.
It's good, and you can spike it if you want. I think you could probably splash some rum in there or some whiskey in there. I did not.
Nope, me neither. We're trying to be good. The holiday season in a pandemic is no joke.
No, it isn't. And believe me, I think I spent the last 6 months of the year, like from August to December, on a bender. Like there might have been it was not good. So I'm trying to start this year off on a better foot.
That's right, with hot buttered pineapple juice.
Yes.
It is. It's really very good. So because the books that I've read of yours previous to this one, they were novella length. How was the adjustment to 90,000+ words?
Painful. So painful. I can't even tell you. I just wanted to be, I wanted to be done. I'm like, what? Can't they just not talk? Can't they just skip to the good stuff and be done? And they're all like, and my editors are like, can you make this fight scene longer? And I'm like, no, I don't wanna.
It's over. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out how to get Megan's free the nipple comment off the thing. There it is.
I love Megan saying
Sorry
she's
about
going to
that.
spike it next time. Yes.
High nipple.
The pine nipple. That's actually a great name for it. The hot buttery pine nipple.
Hot buttery pine nipple. Okay, I'm sorry. So, are you? Do you prefer shorter length, or have you turned the corner on this?
I have not turned the corner yet. I'm still like it's painful to write anything long, and because I trained myself to use only the exact amount of words necessary. And
you were in journalism. You wrote for like Soap Opera Digest, didn't you?
I was, yeah. I was with Soap Opera Weekly and Soap Opera Digest and RT Book Reviews and some other publications. And so, yeah, coming from that, you kind of learn the economy of words. And I also used to still write fan fiction. And I was never one of those like 40-part saga people. I was always the kind of person who will come in and write like 500 to 1,000 words of a character snapshot. So again, I had trained myself to capture these moments, very in brief.
Yeah.
And that translated to when I became, a fiction writer professionally. And so untraining myself and being like, okay, you can actually use 15 words here where you would have used 5 is really hard because you're like, I feel like I'm overwriting.
Yeah.
And so, or repeating myself a lot. And
it certainly doesn't feel that way in the book.
Oh, so good. Yeah,
it worked for sure.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? Is there what have you got? What's happening right now?
Right now, I am in revisions with A Pretty Little Lion, book 2, which has the first, the part A of the first chapter is in the back of Big Bad Wolf. It ends on a really great line, I gotta say. I'm kind of proud of where I left that off. So that's in revisions, and that should be out in October. And at some point, I need to start writing book 3 because it's due this summer, and I haven't started it yet because I'm too busy climbing the walls.
Yeah. It is hard to focus. I have a deadline that's looming too that I'm going to undoubtedly have to ask for an extension just because I don't know where the days go.
Yeah.
Where do the days go?
I don't know because I keep apparently with me watching television and playing video games on my phone. Like I should be writing, but I just it's hard.
It's hard to find the headspace. There's a question here from Jamie. What kind of fanfic did you write?
Oh, pretty much everything. I Buffy, Angel. I started out writing 21 Jump Street fan fiction, the old 21 Jump Street, before the internet, by hand in 7th grade in like English class instead of doing my homework.
If I knew that I could write Johnny Depp, Richard Grieco fanfic,
I didn't even know what I was doing, right? To me, it just seemed normal to create a girl who joined the Jump Street squad and hung out with them. They're terrible stories, by the way. They were so bad. But I started there, and then I just kind of any fandom. I've done Marvel. I've done all my soap operas. I still have a fanfiction.net account that you can find, and my stuff's on Archive of Our Own. Like I had a live journal. Like I probably have total more than 1,000 pieces of fan fiction floating out there in various fandoms.
So I know nothing. So how would you just find a group and it was people who wanted to read fan fiction about 21 Jump Street? I'm kidding.
I mean, again, okay, that was when I was 11 and before the internet. There were no computers. We didn't have, back then. By the time I got to be like a senior in high school, there was a computer that was attached to the internet in the library. So that's when I found Dirty X-Men fan fiction. And I found and soap opera fan fiction from some of the early soap opera message boards, and that was around 95, 96. And that's when I started finding my people and being like, oh, there's people who write this and they post it or they email it to each other on email lists. Back then it was all email groups and message boards. And that was like eye-opening. And then I never went back. X-Files and X-Men filth was great.
And, someone had to connect those dots that they were not connecting for us. Katie has a question, and you're going to have to educate us. 21 Jump Street, dang, was it slash? I don't know what that means.
Oh, slash is the slang term for male male or female female, because of the slash in between. Because back then you would abbreviate it, with the names. And a slash between, right? So it started being called slash. And that, I think, predates my era even. But it was not slash because I was 11 and I didn't know anything about that. Mm-hmm. I did, however, have my characters, she managed to make it around. Like, I started out with a crush on Peter DeLuise, and then there was a crush on Johnny Depp, and then there was a crush I
Peter DeLuise. I thought it was Richard Grieco.
He was later, after Johnny Depp left. They made him the Hanson character, that broody character, after Johnny Depp left, and then he got his own spinoff called Booker. I could go on about Richard.
He was a poor man's Johnny Depp. He was.
I was, and again, I was 10, 11, 12 when all that was happening, and it was. And very innocent and cheesy fan fiction, but by the time I was in college, my fic got less innocent.
Something that I never my first writing friend that I met at an RWA conference. She wrote West Wing fanfic.
Nice.
And we went out for, a drink at the bar, and she's just telling me all about this stuff. And it was just, it's like, you don't know what you don't know. There's so much out there that I don't know. I'm sorry, Katie, I've left this up because the dangling crucifix earring brushed across my cheek. You did that crucifix.
That's probably what was in there. I loved the dangling crucifix earrings. Speaking of earrings, you can't see them, but I'm wearing earrings that a friend got me. One has a wolf on it, and the other one has John Bernthal's face from The Punisher.
So this book, I know we touched on it earlier. I'm sorry, this interview is coming full circle. It started as fan fiction, or it was just totally inspired by.
It didn't. I mean, I think I might have borrowed a couple of my fan fiction love scenes just because I was feeling. I worked from those, but other than that, no, it did not start from fan fiction. Like, the idea itself was, I mean, obviously inspired by The Punisher. So, brooding vigilante
with those ears,
huh?
With those ears.
Oh my God, they're like handles. Oh,
they're beautiful.
They're beautiful. They're beautiful. No, don't let anyone tell you your ears aren't beautiful, John Bernthal. I'm sure your wife tells you that all the time.
Yeah. John's doing all right. John's doing okay.
He's fine. He's good.
X-Files, X-Men crossover.
You want me to write one? I was going to say, they have a whole running list of things I need to write, and I guess this is going to go on it. But everything of mine has an element of that kind of wish fulfillment, right? Of like, okay, it didn't turn out this way on my soap opera, so maybe I can make it turn out this way in my book. I
wonder, do you feel like because I know that we all are, right? Like, as readers of genre, I mean, as romance, all of that. But do you feel like, or wonder, or think about the idea that because you know and love and have been inside so many fandoms, that it's, I mean, I will, like, part of the magic of the book and the reason that the pages turn so much is that, I mean, it did feel cinematic. It did feel like a world that I knew, even though I did not know this world. Like, do you feel like that has informed your writing in a way?
Absolutely. I think I've learned so much from writing other fandoms, and also from watching. Like, I obsessively. I think I used to watch up to 17 to 20 hours of television a day back when I worked at Soap Opera Weekly. Like, it was a lot of television. So like this stuff was going into my veins. Like, I have internalized a lot of those tropes and those, and like, and it seeps into your writing. Absolutely. So I think, treat my stories as something you could ship or tweet about, right? Like, I want people to be that invested. Like, if you want to write fan fiction about my books, go right ahead. I won't read it. Actually,
man, wouldn't that be good?
My dream is for someone to take the Third Shift series and make it into a TV show, and then I can write fan fiction about the TV show that's based on my books.
So there is a question: do you have a title for the third book, or do you know what the animal is? Have you gotten that far in the process?
The third book is tentatively titled "Cold-Hearted Snakes," and the snake shifter you meet in book one, Neha's cousin, Tejal, is going to be one of the heroines. I'm still figuring out how the book is going to go. I want there to be two couples in it.
Oh.
Yeah, so I haven't decided which couple is going to be the main point of view couple and which couple is going to be the secondary. I might have to just like write a wrestling scene where they duke it out. I don't know. How do we decide those things? Because there's a character in book 2 who is another scene stealer, and everyone's going to want his book and for his story to continue. So I got to do it in book 2.
Your hands are tied.
Exactly. So, but I had a different couple planned, obviously my snake shifter. And so I just have to figure out which one's going to make the better A story and which one's going to make the better B story. Again, I plot these things out like a TV writer and a director, because I usually, all these points of view and usually like 2 or 3 different plot lines that I like to have come together at the end. So yeah, I treat things like, cinematically, even in my head when I'm writing. So,
that's good. Well, it comes out on the page. Well, I urge everybody to go get this book. It's a great distraction. It does feel like current and now and really exciting. And it's a really, really satisfying romance on top of it, which is fantastic. And I can't wait for what's next. So,
oh no, I was going to take off my earring and show it to the camera.
Put it up.
So you could see his little face. Look at his little face.
Oh, look at his ears.
Oh my God, his ears totally stick out. I know, right? Here we go.
Even on the earring.
Even on the earring, his ear is sticking out. It's the cutest thing.
Pretty dreamy.
I love it. Like, my friend Sarah Title, who's also an author, she ordered them for me from a Etsy shop called Obsessories Los Angeles. If anyone wants weird people's faces on their earrings, that's where you can get them.
I mean, suddenly we all are like, there are like 10 or 12, I think I could have.
Right? I think we should all get earrings with people's faces on them.
That's as high a compliment as fan fiction for sure.
I think so, yes. But it was so fun to talk with you, Molly, and I hope we covered all the territory that you wanted to cover. I know we ranged all over.
We did, all the way around. Well, I really do appreciate you coming out and taking the time. I know that these are weird days, and sometimes lipstick is more than we can take.
As I said, I came out in my nightgown. I want to show it to everyone. Here, look
at that. It's it's really very pretty.
It is very pretty. I like it, and it's voluminous. Like you could fit people under here. It's like it's the nightgown equivalent of those bell bottoms.
It's the pandemic quarantine clothes we all need.
It is. It's
for
great.
Sure.
But no, so yeah, thank you for letting me come on.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for coming out tonight. Stay home if you can. Stay safe. Wear a mask. Read a book. Good night, guys.
Good night.